troubling trend.
The child has either lost composure and is starting to throw things or starting to get physically violent.
An alarming number of classrooms evacuated over aggressive behavior. Plus, fighting homelessness in Chatham-Kent.
This is part of the evolution of how we as a community are working with homeless to make it better.
Housing the most vulnerable in tiny cabins, should Windsor follow suit? And cash no longer king.
If something goes down, what are you going to do? We don't make money, they don't get food.
More sports and entertainment venues ditching bills and moving to cashless payment only.
CTV News with Stefanie Masotti.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on TV and on AM 800. Teachers in Windsor, Essex say evacuating classrooms and dealing with aggressive outbursts is becoming a routine part of their jobs. Now, new school board data confirms the troubling rise in violence, numbers that haven't been this high in years. For more, we're joined by CTV's Sanjay Maru tonight. Sanjay.
Stefanie, according to the president of the union representing elementary teachers locally, evacuations of full classrooms, they have started to become all too common, an effort to keep students safe when a child becomes violent, even in classes as young as kindergarten. And this disturbing trend is backed up by data provided by the Greater Essex County District School Board, which shows violent incidents inside this region's schools have risen from double to triple digits since before the pandemic.
We have evacuations in our classrooms every day. The child has either lost composure and is starting to throw things or starting to get physically violent. And so what the teacher needs to do is take the other kids out of the room so that they're not injured.
It's the unfortunate reality of what some teachers are facing, and the numbers back it up, showing a sharp rise in school violence. Before COVID closures, the board reported fewer than 24 violent incidents, but since schools fully reopened, that number has soared from just shy of 36 cases between 2021 and 2022 to more than 100 in each of the last 2 years.
One of the main reasons that we have young people refer to diversion is actually for assault. And if anything, that was our #1 top driving reason for referrals in 24 to 25.
The executive director for Youth Diversion Windsor Essex says those behaviors are not limited to teenagers. She's seeing aggression in children as young as kindergarten. She says schools lack the supports they need, particularly trusted adults who can step in.
To be able to feel like they can open up and to have an ongoing relationship that's not once in a blue moon.
And it's not just students feeling the impact of that lack of support, teachers are as well.
Sometimes they are hit. Sometimes they get things thrown at them. We have definitely seen WSIB claims increasing. Sick leave has increased.
The Greater Essex County District School Board tells CTV News staff receive annual training on workplace violence, incident reporting, and behavior management. But the union representing elementary school teachers in Windsor, Essex argues training alone does not address the reality inside classrooms.
For whatever reason, we are seeing more needs with children when they're coming to school. We have not seen this before. We need to reduce the class size as a result, because class sizes from 20 years ago, the composition of those classes, so 30 kids 20 years ago versus 30 kids now, completely different needs.
And the board adds violent incident reports can vary significantly in terms of severity. They may include a student throwing a block at someone to issuing verbal or physical threats. Stefanie.
Concerning. Okay, Sanjay Maru with our top story tonight. Thank you, Sanjay. In other news, Windsor police have arrested 4 teenagers in connection with a violent kidnapping and extortion case in the city's West End. Just after midnight on August 11th, the man was forced into a stolen car at gunpoint and held for 2 hours. He was assaulted, threatened with weapons, and forced to steal alcohol. The suspects, aged 15 to 17, were tracked down in Windsor and Chatham and now face multiple charges, including kidnapping, forcible confinement, and assault with a weapon. Their names cannot be released under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. The stolen vehicle has since been recovered. U.S. Customs and Border Protection seized illegal bushmeat twice in 1 week at the Detroit Metro Airport, calling it a serious public health risk. Bushmeat comes from wild animals like bats, primates, and cane rats, and is banned from entering the U.S. due to the risk of spreading diseases like Ebola and Mpox. The meat was turned over to the CDC, and each traveler was fined $300 for undeclared agricultural items. CBP say wild bushmeat is sometimes considered a cultural delicacy. Bringing it into the country is both illegal and dangerous. Now, in just the first 7 months of this year, the Canada Border Service Agency seized 1.37 metric tons of cocaine at land ports of entry in southern Ontario, with an estimated street value of $171.4 million. The drugs were intercepted at border crossings, including the Ambassador Bridge and the Windsor-Detroit Tunnel. Officials say the seizures are part of ongoing efforts to disrupt organized crime and prevent illegal drugs from reaching Canadian streets. Now, the border was busier last month, and it has been all year, pushing closer to the levels we saw before tariff tensions took hold. Digging into those numbers for us is CTV Travis Fortnum. Travis, what do we think is behind these numbers?
It's a good question, Stefanie, because it could be family vacations, it could be going to visit family over there, or it could just be going over for a Tigers game on a sunny afternoon, right? Numbers have crept up either way. They're still not where they were before all this tariff stuff started, but they are the strongest we've seen in months. In July, about 2.4 million people entered the U.S. by land, 409,000 entering through Detroit alone. That's up from 380,000 in June, though still 34,000 fewer than July last year. Experts say it's tough to pin down one reason behind the trend. Every traveler has their own, but we asked University of Windsor political science professor Jamie Essex to put it into context. He says people may be taking Donald Trump's tariff threats less seriously.
I think people have kind of shrugged their shoulders at that now, because he's delayed tariffs on China, 90 days and then 90 days and then 90 days. There's constant negotiation. When there's a deal announced, you kind of are like, is that really a deal? Like, what has actually been agreed to? So there's a little bit of a the emperor has no clothes situation here, where people are kind of like, well, but what's the point of keeping up this kind of really intense, we have to not go to the U.S. We can't spend our money in the U.S.
So what does this mean for those who are most affected? Tonight at 11, we'll check back in with duty-free shops still feeling the pinch, and snowbirds who once vowed to skip the U.S. this winter altogether. Are they holding that line? We'll find out tonight at 11. Stefanie.
And we know that duty-free did have those challenges when the pandemic hit, so now it's happening again.
Yep, the people involved say this is shades of that. It echoes that for sure.
Okay, Travis Fortnum tonight. Thank you for this.
Thanks.
Now we are learning more about the tentative deal between Air Canada and the union representing flight attendants. It's a deal that bumps up salaries and puts an end to unpaid work. CTV's Adrian Gobriel has the details.
With Air Canada slowly getting its fleet off the ground, industry watchers say parts of the proposed deal will leave some flight attendants deflated.
They won't be able to afford the cost of living and living wage in Toronto and Vancouver.
Air Canada and CUPE have yet to confirm the wage increase being offered, but multiple aviation insiders, including McGill University's John Graddick, say they've seen the numbers.
12% increase immediately for the junior flight attendants, 8% for the more senior flight attendants, and then progressively through the contract, 3.5%, 3%, and then 2.5%.
Though the pay grade for cabin crew with less than 5 years of service will still fall short of what some U.S. carriers offer their staff who work out of major hubs.
If you happen to live in LA, if you happen to live in New York, or happen to live in Chicago, we're giving you an extra $2,000 a month. And that should get you up to a living wage in those cities where you have a high cost of living.
Air Canada flight attendants haven't been receiving an hourly wage while checking in passengers. CTV News has confirmed that the airline is now offering 50% of their hourly rate as ground pay for the first hour of pre-flight work on a narrow-body aircraft and 70 minutes for larger planes. The ground pay rate will increase to 70% by the time the deal expires in 4 years.
The flight attendants at Air Canada felt that this was a negotiating element of their contract that they could get a lot of Canadians to support.
Air Canada's offer of ground pay follows a similar move already made by Delta Airlines in the U.S. It could trigger similar demands by flight attendants at other Canadian carriers. WestJet's contract with its cabin crew expires at the end of the year. A source tells CTV News that QP began presenting Air Canada's offer to their members this morning. Voting is expected to be completed by the end of next week. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
Meteorologist Julie Atchison joining us now for a first look at the weather tonight. And Julie, cloudy conditions persist.
Yeah, we've had this area of low pressure come through, but what we're dealing with now is the low level moisture and the wraparound cloud. Temperatures cooler than average through the day today, holding anywhere between 21 and 22 degrees on the hour. About a 30% chance as we move through the evening. The winds have been a bit breezy today out of the northeast. The winds will start to ease a bit as we head into tonight. So conditions across our region fairly calm, just overcast, and we'll hold on to that cloud cover across the region. The temperature will dip to about 19 degrees by midnight. The winds out of the northeast continue, but easing off. I'll take you through the forecast. High pressure building in for tomorrow, but some stubborn cloud will hang around early, but clearing conditions heading into the weekend.
Cash is no longer king. From stadiums to concert halls, more sports and entertainment venues are going cashless, leaving some fans asking, is this the future of how we pay or a problem in the making? Bob Bellacicco reports.
So, what do you use, cash or card?
Card. Card.
Card.
Both. I like both.
St. Clair College Athletics is going cashless for their varsity games this season.
Each year, the amount of cash that we see coming in at our different events, at our different venues is changing all the time, and it is going down. It's not going up.
Reed Innes, Director of Recreational Services, says taking cash out of the mix is safer for students at staff events and helps prevent lineups.
It's not a viable option for me. For me, cash is king.
Justin Artal understands a cashless society is on the horizon, but adapting to an abrupt change is not viable for him right now.
I cannot move as quickly as the other people. So as you move to make this regulatory, you're going to leave your most vulnerable a little bit behind in the dust.
This is not meant to be a barrier to anyone attending our games, coming on campus. We want to continue to have the community here as much as possible, obviously.
According to the Government of Canada, retailers have the discretion to determine what payment methods they will accept for transaction. Now, the college has no plans to go cashless elsewhere on campus, but the trend is hard to refute.
Everything is tap and go or online ordering.
With a store on campus and stores across the region, Capri Pizzeria says the pendulum has definitely tipped towards cashless.
Now it's tap and go. There is no more cash. Maybe 10%, 5% of the sales, but it's all tap and go. No, the young generation, there's nobody walking around with cash anymore.
Myself, I carry my phone and a bunch of cards in the back, no cash. So if I were to come here on Plisher Street on a Saturday for the farmers market, might have a hard time buying things. Shane Topalovic runs a booth at the farmers market and is a cash-only vendor for various reasons. Now, he says customers have no problem with that and feels cash needs to have a place.
For me, cash is always going to be the way to go because we win. Both of us win. Consumer wins, vendor wins. But like I said, if something goes down, what are you going to do? We don't make money. They don't get food.
Bob Bellacicco, CTV News.
Chatham-Kent is opening a new door today in the fight against homelessness. 50 tiny transitional cabins are now officially open and operational. As CTV's Chris Campbell reports, it's part of the municipality's response to a growing crisis.
50 tiny transitional cabins are ready to house some of the community's most vulnerable. Councillor Anthony Sakachi says it's about giving people stability.
There's a lot of wraparound services that are going to be on place and on site, coaching, as well as different types of social services here. So it's not just a roof over your head, but it's also some support systems that are in place to assist through that standpoint.
But not everyone from the encampments will relocate here.
We have around 40 individuals right now that are currently housed at the transitional temporary shelters here. I think that we have a room for 10 more.
We have nearly 250 homeless individuals in Chatham-Kent. So this is part of the evolution of how we as a community are working with homeless to make it better.
Mayor Darren Caniff says the cabins are one piece of a bigger plan.
If those are fully utilized, there's a waiting list. the opportunity to add more. We have land there.
Advocates say while the cabins won't solve homelessness, they'll make a difference creating pathways to long-term housing.
They certainly provide another alternative, and let's be honest, we have to do something different. We know what we've been doing is not working. Congregate living is not favored. It's not successful. And so this is just another option.
And the concept is already sparking interest elsewhere. Windsor City Councillor Ronaldo Agostino says he plans to explore tiny cabins as an option in Windsor.
Certainly anything that we can do to create more supports for people that need them, I'm all for it. I'm excited to see.
For those moving in like Patrick, who wish to remain off camera, it's a first step towards stability.
We got curtains up and outlets, got a microwave and a fridge, bed to sleep on, roof over your head. So it's definitely better than sleeping under the bridge.
In Chatham, Chris Campbell, CTV News.
This takes us to our question of the day. Would you like to see tiny cabins for the homeless in Windsor? Go to our website to cast your vote, ctvnewswindsor.ca. Yesterday, we asked if you still use cash. Out of almost 800 responses, 83% say yes, they do. Still ahead on Windsor's news leader, Ontario's $70 million promise and rising frustration from steelworkers in Hamilton. Back to school shopping is underway, but for most Canadian parents, the excitement comes with serious stress. That story when we return. And tomorrow, a routine eye exam caught cancer in an Ontario toddler, but most preschoolers are still missing this life-saving check. That's tomorrow at 6 on CTV News. Getting tough on crime is Donald Trump's mantra. Today, National Guard troops arrived in D.C., some 700 of them on the orders of the U.S. president, who claims they're needed to control raging crime in the capital. As Judy Trin reports, not everyone agrees the city is that unsafe.
An angry welcome for three of Donald Trump's top officials as they walked into Union Station to greet the National Guard. The concerns of protesters were dismissed.
We do not have to allow our cities to be taken over by violence and disorder and by chaos.
The voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots. They have no connections to the city.
But the organizers of this protest are from the city.
We're under a military occupation of our city. This is fascism, this is racism. It's directly targeting Black and brown and working class communities in D.C.
Last week, Trump, citing a crime emergency in Washington, D.C., took over the local police force and called in the National Guard. Since then, the White House says nearly 500 people have been arrested and more than 20 homeless encampments have been dismantled. Hundreds of National Guard members have been stationed near subway stations and national monuments.
Sometimes our mere presence has a deterrent effect on criminal activity, and that's really what we're trying to provide.
The Guards have also been patrolling the poor, predominantly Black and immigrant neighborhoods of D.C. Washington's mayor says that crime is on the decline in the capital, and there's no need for the military to be involved.
You know what doesn't make sense? The numbers on the ground in the district don't support 1,000 people from other states coming to Washington, D.C.
By law, Trump can only use the National Guard for 30 days without congressional approval. But the president has already said he wants an extension to his emergency order. Judy Trin, CTV News, Washington, D.C.
5 members of the Canadian military have been suspended pending an investigation into an incident the head of the Army calls deeply disturbing. In a statement, Lieutenant General Mike Wright says, "I was notified of a video containing hateful conduct involving members of the Canadian Army," adding, at one point in the video, other individuals performed the Nazi salute. The military says the video was shared by a member of the public. The events happened in 2023, but the members could still face disciplinary action. Ontario is promising to invest $70 million to protect workers affected by tariffs, including those in the province's steel industry. CTV's Abigail Beeman now on the frustration that's briefly boiled to the surface in the Hamilton area today.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford slammed Lourenço Gonçalves, the head of the American company that owns Ontario-based Stelco Steel, for his support of Donald Trump's tariffs.
And why doesn't he just stay in the U.S.? Because I'm done with this guy signing letters saying, yeah, bring all the steel down to the U.S., tariff the crap out of Canadians. This is the owner. So remember that, Stelco workers, when your owner comes prancing through your place. He doesn't support you. And I look forward to getting a phone call from him because he has my cell number.
Thank you.
I'm going to blast him.
Ford then apologized for getting heated. At one point, he even mused the province should buy Stelco. Stelco was purchased by American company Cleveland Cliffs last year for $3.4 billion. Its CEO has praised Donald Trump's tariffs as recently as Monday, blaming Canada and Mexico for supporting tariff circumvention schemes. Neither Stelco nor Cleveland Cliffs responded to CTV questions about Ford's comments. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
The tariff storm is also hitting a major big box store. Home Depot warning customers in the U.S. that prices may now be going up. CTV Jean-Vier Beauchemin on the ripple effect here in Canada.
Handy shoppers at Home Depot are bracing for their renovations to get a bit pricier. Manuel Rula's shed project was already over budget.
Well, it makes sense that this is going to rise prices.
The announcement came out of Home Depot in the U.S., where half the inventory comes from foreign suppliers, much of it subject to tariffs. Just 3 months ago, the renovation giant said it would not add that to customers' bills. But now, as operating costs rise, the price tag for some products across all its markets will go up too. Economists say those renovating on this side of the border will feel the ripple effect.
Large American retailers like Home Depot want to keep similar prices on both sides of the border. So as they raise prices in the United States, we're going to see that spill over.
The sector boomed during the pandemic, but the renovation landscape shifted in the U.S. Uncertainty and interest rates pushed Americans away from major work to focus on smaller projects and gardening. In Canada, everything from replacing a heat pump to putting in carpet has gotten slightly pricier. Statistics Canada reported a 0.9% increase in the last quarter. Still, the situation in Canada is far more favorable for renovations than in the U.S.
It's now much easier for Canadian families to afford medium-sized or even large renovation projects.
Still, renovators aren't hammering away at as many big projects in this country, too.
It's actually cheaper than it was a while ago. But because of the lack of consumer confidence, we're just not seeing that type of activities.
Still, economists say it's probably a good idea to get to that long-delayed home renovation project before prices get any higher. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Longueuil, Quebec.
With school only a few weeks away, families have started to stock up on supplies. A recent report found that more than 80% of Canadian parents are stressed about back-to-school expenses. CTV's Emma Convey has more.
Pencil case. Excellent. Look, glue.
For over a decade, the team at Parker Street Food and Furniture Bank has filled backpacks with school supplies for children in need. And year over year, their list of applicants continues to grow.
We're seeing their notices of assessment, and we're just wondering how they can possibly afford to do that on the income that they have.
They supply children preschool aged to adults in adult learning with a full backpack.
Markers, pencil crayons, rulers, geo sets, those kinds of things. And then you're going to see more like loose leaf graph paper, spiral bound notebooks.
It's not just the families that use this service, but according to MyDo, an online money management tool for teens, 81% of Canadian parents report feeling stressed when it comes to back-to-school shopping.
Cost of everything is more expensive. I think also, too, depending on what age your child is at, it's going to be more expensive the older that they get.
This is probably the easier, cheaper year, first year. It probably gets worse.
The study also found that 60% of parents say their kids understand these financial realities.
Once we have a budget when we go school shopping. I remember last year I really wanted a binder, so I bought part of it with my own money.
40% of parents say they overspend during back-to-school shopping to avoid disappointing their children.
I want a zip-up binder and a lot of pencils.
Experts explain Canadians are struggling to meet all their financial obligations, leaning on credit cards and a line of credit to make things work.
So parents that aren't even using our services are talking about the impossibility to just get the supplies that they want. They're having to try to do more thrift shopping. They're having to do more like Dollarama shopping.
School supplies, groceries, everything is just too much.
Emma Convey, CTV News, Halifax.
The Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation is asking everyone to check their lottery tickets after there were several big winners in Tuesday night's draw. One winner, Max Millions ticket worth $1 million, was sold in Chatham-Kent. The $75 million Lotto Max Jackpot ticket was sold in Kingston. Strength in basic materials stocks helped lift Canada's main stock index today. In Toronto, the TSX gained 55 points. In New York, the Dow added 16, the Nasdaq dropped 142. The Canadian dollar down a modest 0.07 cents. On commodity markets, gold gained almost $30 an ounce and oil is up 94 cents a barrel. A life-changing drug with new purpose coming up, how Ozempic could help protect millions of Canadians from kidney failure.
So many great photos coming into CTV Windsor. Tonight's photo sharing with you from Maru taking this photo at River Canard. A great shot. Clearing conditions heading into Thursday evening and a cool end to the month of August. I'll take you through all your local forecast details coming up a little later in the show.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
Cloudy skies, it's what we've seen for most of the day. Julie joins us again for an extended look.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. Conditions across our region, as you mentioned, we've been dealing with the cloud cover. As we head into tomorrow, we'll start to see some dry air work its way in, and that will start to scour out some cloud. But we still have some cloud to contend with. Temperatures on the cooler side of what's normal, but it felt like 28 this afternoon with the humidex, so still dealing with some humidity. Temperatures across Essex, 22 degrees, and as we head toward Chatham, holding steady at 22. So it's a calm evening. The winds out of the north and northeast, but we have a lot of wraparound cloud cover to deal with, and that will be with us tonight and into early tomorrow. Probability of showers on the very low end, just a 30% chance. So high pressure will be building in through the day tomorrow. We'll start with some cloud cover in the morning, and then by the afternoon we'll start to see some breaks. So cloudy with sunny breaks, and then clear conditions by Thursday night. That will set the stage for a beautiful Friday with lots of sunshine across the region. Now I am tracking a weather system. You can just see the leading edge off to the northwest. This is a cold front that will push through Saturday into Sunday, but it's the low pressure area associated with the cold front that will impact our weather significantly as we head into early next week. It's going to stall out over James Bay and usher in waves of cold air into the area. So temperatures are expected to drop right off early next week. I wanted to give you a quick look at Hurricane Erin, bringing some of the outer rain bands to coastal areas in and around the Carolinas. It is a Category 2 hurricane. It could intensify to a Cat 3 tonight before weakening again to a Cat 2. But as it moves by the Maritimes, they will be impacted by strong gusty winds, of course, hurricane force winds, as this is a massive storm. And again, those coastal areas facing the Atlantic will be dealing with some extremely high waves. As we head through the overnight in Essex County, 15 to 16 degrees our overnight low, and the winds light and variable heading into tomorrow morning, starting the day with cloud cover, 22 by lunchtime, and we'll hit 26 degrees with some sunny breaks by the afternoon. Our Siles heating and cooling forecast for your Friday: sunshine and 28, 26 on Saturday and mainly cloudy. The cold front comes through. Now the probability of showers with this cold front over the weekend, about a 30% chance. So we're not not expecting a whole lot of rain associated with it, but as it comes through the area, the timing looks to be at night. So we'll likely see rainfall overnight Saturday into Sunday. Now, it will be as the low pressure area sets up shop to the north that it draws in that colder air, and temperatures are set to drop off between 21 and 22 degrees. Even our overnight low is getting quite comfortable, so we'll be without the humidity next week, and we'll have some much cooler temperatures as we usher out the month of August. So forecast models indicating that August will end on a cool note with temperatures well below normal. So recapping your forecast for tomorrow, mainly cloudy through the better part of the day, breaks of sunshine in the afternoon, but a sun-filled start to your Friday, and that's how we're going to kick off the weekend. Stephanie, back to you.
Lifetime, brought to you by Safeguard Medical Alert Systems.
Health Canada has approved Ozempic to reduce the risk of further kidney decline among patients with type 2 diabetes. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
Craig Lindsay was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 31 years ago and later developed the chronic kidney problems that so often accompany diabetes.
We underappreciate how hard it is living with a chronic disease. It's every decision. It's, do I have the energy to go for a walk? Am I making the right food choices?
That's why he recognizes the importance of making Ozempic or semaglutide injections available now for type 2 diabetes patients with high risk of kidney disease. And that could be millions across Canada.
Diabetes is probably the #1 cause of kidney failure. It's not a small subset. So in Ontario, for example, I think Diabetes Canada says 1 to 1.5 million people are living with diabetes, pre-diabetes, or undiagnosed diabetes. And of the people who end up in full-blown kidney failure, fully 40% of them are struggling to manage diabetes.
They're also at high risk of developing cardiovascular complications, including the risk of heart failure or accumulating salt and water in the body. And once patients have kidney disease, they're at an augmented higher risk of developing cardiovascular disease.
Researcher Dr. David Cherney says Ozempic won't restore lost kidney function, but it is effective in reducing future damage.
Patients have type 2 diabetes. They should be screened for kidney disease on a yearly basis at least.
Lindsay, who took insulin and underwent dialysis for several years before getting a kidney and pancreas transplant, says Ozempic is not for everyone. For example, patients with gallbladder disease or pancreatitis may not be able to use it, but it will be another useful tool in the effort to preserve kidney function for many. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A record number of kids across Canada are turning to support programs to help them get through the school day without getting hungry. Breakfast Club of Canada is the country's largest school food provider. The organization says at least 1 in 3 children in the country are arriving at school hungry almost every day. And nearly 2.5 million children live in a food insecure household, which represents a third of the children in the country. Tire trouble coming up on Windsor's news leader. Stranded with a flat and no spare in sight. Why a Toronto couple says always check before you rent.
Get ready to rock the runway. Enter today's keyword at ctvwindsor.ca for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Noah Khan at Rock the Runway in London, Friday, September 12th, plus an overnight stay.
In Ontario, couples say they had to rely on strangers for help during a recent vacation when the rental car got a flat. As Pat Thorne reports, spare tires used to come standard with many vehicles, but that doesn't seem to be the case any longer.
You kind of have this assumption, or at least we have the assumption, that there would be a spare tire.
Lisa Glass and her partner Matt Barber of Toronto recently spent 10 days in Newfoundland. They rented a car in St. John's to drive to Trinity. But along the way, they noticed one of the rental car's tires was losing air pressure.
It kept going down, and then overnight, that night, it completely lost pressure, and we woke up the next morning and the tire was flat.
They called the company they rented the car from but couldn't get a response, so they decided to change the tire themselves.
He went out to the trunk and opened it up, and there was no spare.
Glass feels if a car doesn't have a spare, the driver should be made aware of it at the time of the rental.
The last thing anyone wants is to be stuck on the side of a road in a remote area with no cell phone service, with no spare.
CTV News reached out to Budget Car Rental but did not get a reply. However, it does say on their website the manufacturer may not have equipped your car with a spare tire. It may have an inflator and seal kit, which you can use to temporarily address a tire leak so you can return to the nearest rental location. You should check the vehicle before you leave with the car. Glass says while the rental car did have a sealant kit, it was not enough to repair the tire. Along with inflator kits, a car may also have a smaller size donut spare, and some luxury cars may have run-flat tires, which allow you to drive about 80 kilometers to get help. It's not just rental cars. You should check your own car, too.
In an effort from the manufacturers to lower production costs and reduce weight for fuel economy, they're just leaving the spare tire out.
Glass says with the help of Good Samaritans, the car was towed to a shop, the tire was patched, and they were back on the road. But she wanted to warn others when renting a car, check if there's a spare.
I want people to know that when they rent a car, there's not necessarily a spare tire in the trunk.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Robots designed to look and move like people are being designed and deployed to address critical challenges in hazardous industries. CTV's Spencer Turcock explains.
A quick stretch of the fingers.
The range of motion is incredible.
And these robots are ready to work.
A humanoid robot is a robot that matches the human form.
At Mercy Robotics in Cambridge, Tarek Rahim and his team have developed human-like robots that can do human tasks.
Everything is Mercy designed, and we're really proud of it.
Mercy says their robots are already addressing critical Canadian challenges like gathering data for remote First Nations water plants, providing support in aging care facilities, and filling essential roles in precarious industries.
These robots are going to tackle the repetitive, monotonous jobs. And most importantly, they're going to handle the backbreaking labor that humans should really not be doing.
Rahim says people shouldn't worry about the humanoids taking human jobs. They may replace some roles, but he says with any emerging technology, new job opportunities arise. That's backed by global humanoid robot market projections, which show it growing from $2.92 billion this year to $15.26 billion by 2030.
And those are the most conservative estimates, so I wouldn't fear too much about a dystopian future with no employment opportunities.
The robot moves around on wheels with the help of a joystick.
The reason we do wheel designs is because they're inherently stable. You cannot knock this guy over.
In the manufacturing sector, Canada ranked 12th in robot installations behind countries like the U.S. and Mexico. Yet Mercy says they have the tech to catapult Canada to the top of the world rankings, in an industry they believe will have the same impact as the automotive revolution. But above the impressive technology, they have the passion to match it.
In a way, it's the most rewarding feeling ever. So I imagine that's what having children feels like.
Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Cambridge.
We want to hear from you. Do you have a comment or a question, an idea for a great story? Text us at 10400. You can send photos and videos as well.
This is your CTV Windsor, our community calendar. Celebrate 171 years with the Harrow Fair, August 28th to the 31st, with guaranteed family fun and live entertainment daily. See you next time on Our Community.
It's time to check in on what's happening now with Melanie Kentner. And Melanie, there's been a drop in police activity at Windsor's downtown mission.
That's right. Since the installation of a double security fence earlier this year, both the number of police calls and the amount of time officers spend at the shelter have been cut in half. Windsor Police confirmed the reduction, saying calls have gone from 113 in July to 55 so far this month. Hours spent on scene went from 153 in July to 61 in August. The enhanced perimeter has helped prevent loitering, drug deals, and conflicts that previously required frequent officer intervention. Neighboring residents on Polisher have noticed the difference.
There's less chaos, there's less drama, there's less drug use. So, I mean, talking to the neighbors, everybody's been amazed how quiet it's been the last few weeks since that fence has gone up. I mean, it could be temporary, but I mean, it's certainly looking positive in the short term.
We've got those details online at ctvnewswindsor.ca.
And we also got a story on our website, Melanie, for those who want to learn more about artificial intelligence.
Yes, leaders from business, technology, and workforce development are teaming up for the AI Workforce Summit next month. It takes place on Thursday, September 18th at Caesars Windsor. The summit will feature workshops, interactive breakout sessions, and networking opportunities. The goal is to harness the potential of AI in the workplace. Ticket information and the agenda are available online. And in our social spotlight tonight, incredible video of a food review that turned into a near-death dining experience. So this car crashed, sending two food bloggers flying inside a Houston restaurant. Police say the driver thought her SUV was in park, and once she took her foot off the brake, the car barreled into the restaurant. The pair somehow walked away from the jaw-dropping moment with minor cuts and bruises. Stefanie.
I thought we were going to die. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is our last moment.
Melanie, someone was definitely looking down on the two of them. I do not know how they did not sustain any major injuries.
Yeah, for sure. Just incredible footage there.
Okay, thank you, Melanie, and that's what's happening now. A powerful art project with a global message. When we return, how one Ukrainian community is turning creativity into support for the fight overseas.
The latest news to start your day.
Interviews, conversations with the top officials, the difference makers, and personalities in Windsor, Essex.
Only on Windsor, Essex #1 morning show.
It's Mornings with Mike and Meg on AM 800.
Julie joining us one last time for a final look at the weather tonight. Julie.
Thanks so much, Stefanie. Our Siles heating and cooling forecast for tomorrow. We'll have some cloud cover early in the day, but we'll see some breaks of sunshine as we head into the afternoon. The high 26, 28 degrees on Friday. That'll be a banner day. Beautiful conditions. Saturday, mainly cloudy. A cold front rolling in for the weekend. The timing on this one, it looks like it could come through Saturday night into Sunday, and that will generate about a 30% chance of showers. Cooler conditions heading into next week. Temperatures drop down between 21 and 22 degrees, so we're getting into some comfortable conditions, and overnight lows dipping between 11 and 14, so that's a bit below normal as we usher out the month of August. So still some cloud cover to contend with tomorrow morning, but we're into full sunshine on Friday.
Ricardo, the closely watched by-election in Alberta is now complete.
That wrapped up on Monday, and so we're going to take a closer look at that tonight, Stefanie, with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre returning to the House of Commons now after that landslide win. That came after losing his long-held Ottawa area seat in the general election earlier this year. We'll take a look at his next steps now to convince Conservatives across the country that he should continue to lead the party into the next election, whenever that should come. Of course, we are in a minority situation, and we'll have more on the cross-border travel situation as traffic picks up. We'll see what that means for duty-free shops that have been calling the downturn a crisis for their business. We've got that and much more on the way tonight at 11. Steph.
Okay, and a Ukrainian community here at home has started an art project trying to raise awareness for their loved ones overseas and money to support their resistance to Russian aggression. With more on how they are doing that, here's Brent Lyle.
9-year-old Ivanka Biga likes to play a piece for peace. It relaxes her as she worries every day about the safety of her relatives in Ukraine.
I miss my grandma, and, well, she used to come visit me, but then when the war started she stopped visiting.
The Elgin County Ukrainian community and local artists have collaborated on the Piano Peace Project.
This was one way of music just kind of being that healer for them and coming together, community, sitting around the piano, and that's what they're doing in Ukraine. If there's a place that has been bombed, there's maybe an instrument that's been left standing, and the piano is one of them. They'll paint it, and that is their sense of solidarity and brings resilience to them again.
You can see there's a map of Ukraine, and all of these symbols are from the Ukrainian heritage. And my parents were immigrants who fled after World War II, fled Europe to come to this land of strength and beauty and peace. And I felt that it was so important to come and help all the people that had also been displaced.
We've been sending things like tourniquets, medical supplies, as well as humanitarian aid. So that's the purpose of having the piano play a piece for peace. Give us a donation, and we will be sending it to where it's needed.
And the need is as great as ever. As President Donald Trump pushes to end the war, Russia continues to attack Ukraine with drones and missiles.
It would be really nice to not have, the bloodshed. It's devastating for family and friends of people living there.
The piano will remain at the local Home Hardware, where they will accept donations until the end of August. It will then move to a new location, which is yet to be revealed. Brent Lale, CTV News.
Ricardo, I feel like a lot of people who watch these incidences overseas feel helpless, like they can't really do any way to help, but at least this is bringing the community together in some way.
It's just a small piece, right? To play on the words there of what people can do to come together. And, I think when we hear of these conflicts halfway across the world, they feel like this amorphous thing, but this is evidence that the impacts reach here at home, and people are trying to find some way to cope with that and wrestle with that. And music, a great way to do it.
Without a doubt. On behalf of our dedicated team here at CTV News Windsor, thank you for watching.
You can find updates anytime online over at our website. That's ctvnewswindsor.ca. And I'll see you again tonight at 11 for a late look at local news.
Good night.